Right, back. Chris is in the house. Pod 52. A whole year worth of podcasts. We made it.
Yeah.
Was a bit of a milestone to see if I wanted to keep going after 52 weeks. So far, so good. Anyway, we spoke the other week. I said we'd do an Olympic wrap-up post-Olympics. I watched a fair bit of it. You probably watched a bit as well, but you have a bit more knowledge than me in track these days. But yeah, highlights, lowlights, best parts. I think they did just, first of all, I think it was probably the best Olympic Games I've ever seen, to be honest. I was a bit worried about disruption, in all honesty, missed organisation. I wasn't sure. They'd obviously didn't spend a huge amount of money on brand new venues, which I think is a good thing. I think we've spoken before about overspending on the Olympics and becoming an issue for cities going forward, and becoming just a bit of a, non-event for a lot of cities now, where they just get it because they want this sort of fame and fortune, then they just overspend and it becomes, pretty useless. But I think France reutilised a lot of their old venues, only spent money where they needed to. And I just think they did a fantastic job. I didn't watch a lot of the other events, predominantly focused on track and field. I will say I've never been to that stadium in Paris. It looked absolutely amazing.
It did, yeah, and the track was amazing too. They all the athletes really raved about how fast the track was. So it was yeah, I mean it went pretty well. I think they did a good job. So yeah, the results in the track there were some unexpected things, but they were all pretty. I've never seen a 400 as good as that, other than Wayne van Niekerk's world record run. But that, to get 5 of them sub 43 is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The 1, 2s, and 4s, both men and women, were all amazing.
Yeah, some pretty incredible results. I mean, and some unexpected results, like, right, the men's 5,000 was pretty crazy to see that young American guy Hooker come through when these two, Jakob Brixen, how do you pronounce his last name?
Ingebrigtsen,
that's it. Messing around at the front with the other English guy, Kerr, and then, the young American just comes up the inside of both of them and runs past them. And then Ingebrigtsen actually went back to 4th in the end, which was, I'm pretty sure, was disappointed. He did come back quite humbly on Twitter and made a very good post, literally saying, there was a war of words leading up to the race, but he got humbled and, congratulations to all those in front of him, blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was pretty nice. But he made amends in the 5,000, Yeah, see, that was in the 1,500, right? He made amends in the 5,000.
Yeah, I mean, Ingebrigtsen is when people were saying Ingebrigtsen, what a terrible run to run 3:28 in an Olympic final, the people that, and I heard a bit of this bandied around, the people that say that do not understand track.
No.
Because 3:28 is an absolutely world-class elite time. The fact there was 3 guys that ran 3:27 is testament to the quality of the field. That's all that was. I mean, like I've always said, if in any point in my career, if I would rather run the fastest I've ever run in my life and come last in a final than win a dodgy B-grade final or a heat in a crap time.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And we've said that time and time again in our running careers, as I'm sure you have. I was beaten by, in about a 3 or 4 year period before you joined, there was a guy, David Creasy, I think his name was. He just ran quicker than me. I was running 11.5 consistently back then in the 40s, when I was 40, 42 or something. And Creasy was running low 11s. He was 11.3, 11.2 runner. And if I went out and ran my best time against him every time, I was always happy. He was just quicker. I couldn't do anything about it. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So, Cole Hocker ran 3:27.65. I assume that AR is an American record?
Yes. But the thing is, the first 3 times were 3:27.
Yeah, I know.
So what do you got to do?
Right?
Like, what do you got to do? I mean, it's other than an era when Usain Bolt was running and everyone just had to run for minor medals. The way it is now is on any given day in most events, except for maybe Sydney McLaughlin in the 4 hurdles, there's any number of athletes who can win it.
Yes.
you know, and the standard has not dropped off. If you look at the men's 800, they're running, you know, minute 41,
Yeah.
you know, and they're running that all the way down to 5th place. So it's that kind, and the men and the women's 800 are saying they're all running sub 2 and well under sub 2, not just 159s, they're running 154s, 155.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
phenomenal running for the
it's
women.
insane.
That's just unbelievable.
So that's where we're at. So now on any given day, you've only got to be off by 0.5%, and you will either not make a final at all, and you certainly won't place. So
Yeah.
it's that competitive. And it always seems to be that way. Other than the era, I always talk about Usain Bolt's era because it was so rare that he dominated for a decade. And the only other athlete I've seen dominate for a decade like that was Michael Johnson in 400.
Yeah, for sure.
He was dominant for a decade, but there's just no dominant. If you looked at Noah Lyles, who got it wrong again in the 200, he's the fastest 200-meter runner since Usain Bolt by far. By far.
Oh.
But something's happening in his preparation because he did it last time where he ran a bronze medal. I can't remember whether it was a world championship or some other event. 7 days later, he gets on a plane, flies home to Oregon, no, not his home, but to the Hayward Stadium, and ran a quicker time than the gold medalist.
Yeah.
7 days later. So something is going wrong with his 200. I don't know what it is, but he hasn't been able to put it together on the big stage. And he is capable of running 19.3 because he's run 19.3 something, you know. But that said, Letizia Tebogo, who ran, and a lot of people may not know this if you don't watch it closely, I knew Letizia Tebogo. I was telling everyone up here, he's the one. And the reason he's the one is because he obliterated Wade Van Niekerk's 300-meter record. He ran 30.69.
Yeah.
I mean, do the math. He is not fading in a 200. He's going to be. He's not. He's going to be so strong, and he proved it.
Yeah, that's the strength of him. But he got out really well as well. Like he ran that race absolutely perfectly. He got out really, and he was out. Was he out in lane 8, lane 7 or 8?
7, I think.
He was out pretty wide, so he didn't get affected by anyone. He just ran his own race, and it was amazing. It's just great to see athletes when they're, you know, just get really laser focused and just run their own race and just put it together on the day. But 19:46 was a very good time.
I think he could break Wade Van Niekerk's 400-meter record if he focused on it.
Yeah, he's only 21.
Yeah. If he focused on it, I think he could break 43 seconds.
19:46
Yes.
as a 21-year-old. Like crazy.
Well, the fact that what he did at 300, you know, it just tells me he could go quicker than Wade Van Niekerk. He's the one that could do it. Whether he'll have a go, who knows? But yeah, phenomenal athlete. There's no doubt about it.
Other highlights for you?
Obviously, I loved the women's 200. I was really disappointed. Obviously, Sharika Jackson didn't run. She's a faster runner than Gabby Thomas, but she was injured. But it was a fabulous race. Highlights, I think, Sydney McLaughlin has got to be put into the category almost of Usain Bolt status when you lower your own world record 3 times.
By that amount.
By that amount. She is a phenomenal athlete. There's just nothing like her. And that 47 something split she ran in the relay. She's in really good shape. Femke Bol had to settle for bronze, but Femke Bol's just come off probably the best 12 months of athletics she's had in her life. She set so many records, 48, 25 indoor, 400, just phenomenal running. You know, they're all highlights for me. Everyone's going to bang on about Jessica Hull getting the silver in the 1500. She only just got it. I tell you what, she had to work. There was 2 girls right on her heels. She could have easily been relegated to 4th, but she got the silver, which is good.
I think it was a great run, though. I think for an Australian to actually run that and keep it cool, she's clearly matured a lot as an athlete. I think, I don't know, is her dad her coach?
Yeah.
So whoever prepared her, I think, you know, did a great job because I think in the past I'd seen her run some pretty poor tactical races. And I think they've actually got, her psychology and her head in the game so well now. So I think it was a phenomenal run from my point of view. Yes, she could have run third. She did slow up in the line, and it's a bit of a danger for any athlete out there. She eased off that one step before the line. The other athlete was coming pretty hard at her.
Yeah.
Just going back to Femke Bol, I think that she spent a lot in that 4x4.
In the mixed?
Yeah, in the mixed.
Well, she did. She came, everyone saw that was the run of the Olympics, is to come from so far back and win that. Probably took a bit out of her. But I just think she may have even been emotionally exhausted, I think, from the years she's had. She's been racing so much and setting so many records, European championships, diamond leagues. She's just raced and raced and raced and hasn't broken down at all. Sydney McLaughlin did break down. She had an and then had to re-strengthen herself. Femke has not yet. It's hard to see what she'll do now. She's done so much, but yeah, I think that for mixed relay, because that was one of the most fantastic runs I've ever seen her do. So, but other than that, I think the Olympics lived up to, certainly from the track perspective, everything we thought it would be. There was other than that, I didn't see much else of it. I saw a little bit of diving, bits and pieces. I've just been too busy. So we've had a lot of athletics on here on the Gold Coast, so I've just been really busy.
Yeah. I think there was some Australian highlights. I think we're just going back for a couple of events in a moment. Let's talk about, whilst we're still on the sprinting side of things, and I'll talk about a few field events. But I think, going back to Femke Bol, even though she did run third, Sydney McLaughlin was just in a world of her own out in that particular race. Yeah, that was just, I was sitting with somebody and I said, to see somebody win an Olympic final by that much, I mean, it's, it's who's going to win the race and then just a race for second, right?
Yeah.
The men's 4x100. What the fuck?
Well, back to the bad old days, for the Americans. They're just back to that old, they just can't put it together. And it is part of the problem is, and it always is with 100-meter runners, particularly Americans, they're bloody enormous egos. But they've got one job. They've just got to run around the track and hand off a stick to the other guy. It's not that complicated. And they give you now, because they changed the rules, you've got a 30-meter zone, 30 meters. You can't, and there's, I tell when I coach relays, I said, the only bad change is a no change. If the stick doesn't go around, it doesn't matter. So a bad change is better than no change at all. So just jet the stick around. I mean, the United States, even if they did 3 bad changes, will probably never.
You need to, I tried to, and I'll try and find this again. I tried to send it to you before we did this podcast today so you could actually see and we could chat about it a bit more. And for those that don't know that, listen, we have a very small audience out there, you'll see the athletes put a bit of tape on the ground and I'm surprised, to be honest, some of the American athletes or some of the athletes in the women's 4x4, I saw them setting up, the amount of tape they had on the ground, they had this piece of tape that literally went right across their lane. Back in the day when we run relays, you take this, 3 or 4 inches of tape with you, 10 centimeters, and go and stick it in a spot, so you can actually see it on the track. But anyway, for those that don't know, you step it out and you'll see all the athletes putting one foot in front of the other before at their leg of the race, back from their mark that they're standing on. And when the athlete hits that particular mark, that piece of tape on the ground, you're looking at them, you take off. It's not that hard. You've just, you might get it slightly wrong, but it's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
No, but for so many athletes, for some reason, they don't get it right. And one of my friends said to me straight away, they don't train together. I don't even know that you need to train together that much to get that right. If you can just practice with other athletes at your track and just get used to taking off when they hit that marker on the ground. Anyway, if I get a chance again, I will go back and find the video and I will video it off the screen and slow it down and send it to you. I'll even post it. If you watch the second change of the US athlete that is actually receiving the baton, the second runner, he takes off about 2 meters before the other athlete hits the tape.
Yeah.
He's gone so early. And if people don't realize these guys can generate so much power so quickly, and your other athlete, even though it's only 100 meters, he is slowing down and he is coming in a little bit slow, and the other guy's got all the energy and all the speed and takes off and just left him. No chance of catching up to him. then it's the old slow down outside the zone, done.
But that said, because you've got 30 meters to work with, it is the responsibility of the incoming runner to control outgoing.
Yeah.
So as immediately that incoming runner sees what's happened, and I mean, this has got to happen instantly. It happened to me at Nationals in Tasmania with Parko. As he got a rush of blood because we knew we were a second and a half worse than Victoria and New South Wales. So as soon as he saw me coming in the zone, he bolted.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to get an advantage in the 30-meter zone. And I screamed at him straight away. I said, slow down. He immediately reacted. He got the baton, and we won by 100th of a second. Because the change ended up being really clean. Because he just took a bit of pace off, and I got to him. I was full strap because I was trying to re-accelerate. My 200 strong, as you know, so I'm not slowing down that much. So I was really pushing to get him. I got to him. He was gone. He was nearly at full speed when he got the baton. And we actually won. And that's racing against guys that were our team were all low 12 runners, and the Victorians and New South Wales had 11 second runners.
Yeah.
And we won.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the difference. But I'm saying that incoming runner for the United States, and by the way, they were practiced in warm-up.
Yeah.
They knew. So, it's just the United States does it all the time, and that just does my head in. I don't know. Well, I think it's ego as well.
It's hard for, in defense of the incoming athlete, you come into the first change, there is a lot of adrenaline going. For some reason, you're so used to running just a 100, and there's people that never run 100 before, you still think about a lot in a race. You're sitting on the blocks, you're trying to get your foot pressure against the blocks, you hold your breath, you're listening for the gun, someone on the start line twitches beside you, you get a little twitch yourself. There's lots going on. You get up to acceleration, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden the relay, you get in the relay, and there's all these other people around you, and you come into this first change, and there's just, a mess of runners. Someone comes into your lane because they're trying to get out the way of someone else. All this shit's going on all at once. So yes, it's completely up to the incoming athlete to call, whatever their change call is, flow, for the athlete in front. However, the mistakes so many of these athletes make, two mistakes they make, often going out too slow or too fast. They don't look at the white tape, their mark on the ground long enough. They should be looking over their shoulder, or as sometimes we used to do, look under your arm, stand in a proper start position, be looking under your arm when you hit that take off. People make that mistake, as you know. They're looking around. By the time they hit the tape, they turn back around, then go. They've already been compressed by 1 or 2 meters, and the athlete ends up on top of you. But if you go and watch this particular change and slow it down, he took off so early, and it reminded me of some of our relay days with particular people that we used to run with that used to do it every time. And I look at him like, you only have to look at that bit of tape, and when he's at that tape, just go. It's not that difficult,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, mate. It was definitely a mess, and I just looked at him like, my God. At that particular level, for athletes that can't, as you said earlier, run around in a circle with a metal stick and hand it to each other, unbelievable.
But it's always the US. There are not that many relays. The men's
always.
It's just unconscionable. They're just giving medals away.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. So, like I said, I know there's a lot going on with a no-look change, but because they changed the rule and made this, you used to be able to roll into a 20-meter change zone.
Yeah.
Now it's just 30 meters, and you stand inside. You have 30 meters to give a baton to someone.
Yeah.
There's no excuses. No excuse.
Well, you know that there was one athlete, and I don't know what country it was from. I heard one of the commentators saying that they were standing up at the end of the zone, at the end of the 30 meters. That's where they were standing. This is at the Olympics. Apparently, all the other female athletes were way back on the 30-meter, start of the change zone. The official went up to them and said, "Are you sure you're in the right spot? You should be back there somewhere."
Well,
and they said, "Oh,
yeah."
Sorry?
The official stand there, yeah.
No, the official went up and actually apparently asked them, did they want to go back with the rest of the athletes? And they walked back to the mark. Pole vault, did you see any of the women's and men's pole vault?
No, but I did see the results, and obviously amazing, yes.
Unbelievable. The women, Nanny Kennedy, the Aussie girl, just held her nerve, and apparently I didn't realise she's had a lot of mental health issues, I believe, and she has, had a few disastrous events in the past, but unbelievable. I just thought she jumped so superbly. And, I think that's a really stressful event. You have quite close to the track, you're close to the crowd get involved, you have big breaks between jumps, and you can often miss a couple of jumps. A couple of athletes, went to a certain height very early and missed all the early jumps, as they often do, and then they missed their jump. So they've gone to too big a height and don't even get to stay in the game. And then the men's pole vault, my God, let me just find the young guy's name that won the men's.
Duplantis.
Yes,
do you know what
Duplantis, is it?
Yeah, do you know what his BB for 100 metres is?
Probably 10.4 or something.
10.49.
Yeah. Yeah, does not surprise me. Yeah, Duplantis, you're right. He has jumped 6.25, and apparently, who's the Australian pole vaulter that won Olympic? Hooker?
Hooker, yeah.
Yeah. So he was commentating with Dave Colbert. I really liked them. I thought they did a great job commentating the field events. Dave Colbert's a great commentator. He's got a media company, but they also know tons about the events. Hooker, Dave Colbert asked him how many times he'd clear 6 meters in his career. He was the world record holder at one point, I think, Hooker was, Steve Hooker.
Yes.
And also won Olympic gold. And he was saying that he cleared 6 meters 4 times in his career. This young Duplantis, he is 24 and he has cleared 6 meters 43 times.
Yeah, he's the only guy that I've come close to him was that Sergei Bulka.
Yeah.
He broke his own world record 30 times or something. But yeah, if you look at 6 meters 25, because they long jump 8 meters, so it doesn't look very far.
No,
you put it vertically. Yes, and look at there was a still shot taken of Duplantis when he went over, with the pole in the air and his hand right on the end of it as he's clearing the bar, and you can just get and you can get some kind of perspective on how high that actually is. It's, by the way, if you get it wrong and you don't hit that mat, you go to hospital.
Yeah. I saw somebody come down in the pit, would you believe? They hit the edge of the mat and then slid into the pit. There was a few disastrous jumps. A few big athletes went out very early in the women's. Was unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, he won the pole vault by 30 centimeters. I mean, the second jump was 5.95 and he was 6.25. It's just crazy.
It's so high. If you go and stand next to anything that's 6 meters 25 high and think,
yeah,
I'm going to hand you a pole and ask you to jump over that, you just shake your head. It's frightening.
The other I thought was an interesting, and we'll maybe just talk about some other events in the moment, but the men's marathon. I didn't see any of the women's marathon. I watched the men's marathon. Virgil watched the whole lot.
I saw the women's. I didn't see the men's.
The men's, let me just bring up the time. I don't recall exactly what time they were.
The women ran, I think, about a 2:15, I think they ran.
Yeah, I think the men's were 2:07 or 2:08. I think the record 2:06, 2:06.26.
Yeah.
It was an extremely good run. He missed the Olympic record by a very small margin. The track or the course, my God, you see the hills in it?
Yeah.
The toughest Olympic course they've ever had. Yeah. There was 3 or 4 big hills, but one massive hill. And they showed the motorbike going beside the leader. He was literally leaning like this up this hill.
Yeah.
His whole body was leaning into it. That's how steep it was.
That's why you didn't see any 2:01s.
No, they said it was
not possible.
Well, the Olympic record is only about 2:06 anyway, 2:05.
Yeah.
So very
rarely do you get a flat course.
Yeah. And they said very rarely do these guys, there's no pacemakers. He ran the race on his own. Once it was over, let's call it 20K mark, whatever it was, he was out there on his own. He broke away and he ran, majority of it on his own. So he had a few teammates around him originally, and then he just pulled away. And there was an Ethiopian came 5th, and he was sitting up there the whole time with him. And they literally said, and I agree, they said, it's so nice when you're running out, at that sort of pace and out front, when you've got a teammate or someone that around you that gives you that little bit of confidence to run together and just keep each other feeling good.
Yeah.
Something else happened in Kipchoge didn't finish, unfortunately, in the marathon. He pulled out. I don't know what distance he pulled out. He was obviously, there was the emotional favourite to win a third gold, and he did pull out. But apart from that, I suppose. Sorry, mate.
So you got to mention Sifan Hassan. She ran the 5, the 10, and the marathon, and medal.
Yes.
She won the marathon.
Did she really?
She won it. And there were 5 girls with about a K to go all together. And they eventually got down to 2, and Sifan, who's got a very good turn of foot, just out-sprinted her.
Wow.
Yep. So...
Yeah, Netherlands. They produce some great athletes in the Netherlands, particularly just runners. I mean, they've just got this, maybe it's just the environment they train in or up in the mountains there as well, I'm not sure. But, God, there's some good athletes that come out of the Netherlands.
There are. So, so anyway, the women's was a good race. But Sifan Hassan, to go to Olympics with a 5, 10, and the marathon, and to get medals she got, I mean, I actually think when I looked at her and I watched her career, and, God, I think she doesn't look well.
No, I can't picture her. I don't know what she looks like.
I can't imagine what her body is going to be like in a few more years. She does so many miles.
Yeah.
I think she's going to have some real health issues because I think she's just overdone it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't look healthy. Her body doesn't look healthy. Everything about her hips look right. Everything doesn't look great. You can overdo things.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, distance running is just hard. And I think it's harder on females, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No science-backed evidence here, but I think just hormonally, it's actually very hard on females.
Yeah,
you do hear lots of stories about their, menstrual cycles and so forth, but, stopping or being completely out of whack and all sorts of stuff when they just are doing that sort of work. Other sort of just crazy highlights, I thought it was, and I know it's a bit of an unusual sport and not our sort of domain, but that young Australian girl winning the skateboarding gold medal at 14.
Yeah, ridiculous. People that want to entertain pastimes and hobbies or things that kids are doing on their driveways and make it an Olympic sport. I'm not a fan of it. I think I get the Olympic Games is trying to appeal to a broader audience because it was waning. And I'm not a purist by any stretch of the imagination. I think the Olympics is a great spectacle. But, I mean, where does it end?
I agree. I'm just saying, I just think it was pretty phenomenal for a 14-year-old kid to come out and, be able to do that.
She's a skateboarder. Who cares?
I'm sure she does, and I'm sure the skateboard community does. I think we've had worse sports in the Olympic Games. I think skateboarding was the first time in there. I mean, we did have surfing as well, which was in Tahiti. Well, I don't know how closely you follow the Olympics this year. We did have breakdancing, mate.
Well, obviously for Australia, and this has been parodied now so quickly all around the world. SNL's even has already done a parody of it about the most embarrassing thing for our country, and it was.
I haven't seen it.
Well, it's like and the thing is, and I don't know much about breakdancing, but I lived in the States for a while and I've seen it done properly. And this girl has just jumped. She's just put an Australian tracksuit on and jumped up, and it was just terrible. Well, let's put it this way: she did not score. She did not get one individual point off any judge. It was 0, 0, 0, 0. What does that tell you?
How can you get 0? How can they give somebody 0?
Well, when you go and watch it at some point, you'll understand why. But she got 0.
Oh,
anyway, even when you do a terrible dive, in diving, you get something. You walk up.
Gymnastics, you can run into the vault. You still get a point.
You get something. She got 0. I don't think I've ever seen an event like, where every judge just went, that's not worth seeing.
I will have to.
There are Australians coming out trying to defend this woman, saying, everyone's being horrible and they're criticising and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, I mean, you just got to call it for what it is. If you run 35 seconds for 100 meters and you're 21 years old, you're not a 100-meter runner. You can't do it. It's terrible.
I'm just having a look now. It's not actually. There's a picture of her. She looks like she's standing on one leg. Like she's just been frightened.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to find. There's so many. Yeah, you can go on Facebook and put it into Facebook. There's so many videos of it out there now, but so many errors of it. Like I said, everyone was confused with what she did. No one knew what the hell was going on. It was
Anyway, I will take a look at that. I have heard some things about it, but I actually haven't seen it, so I kept away from it.
That was definitely the low light. Yeah, probably the only other low light. I can't remember. I think it was the 5,000 where some Dovey cameraman's wandered out.
Oh, that was the men's 5,000.
Yeah,
in one of the heats, the semis.
Yeah, he's wandered out to firstly, if you're on a track, you've got and it's an event, you've got to assume that at some point someone's going to be running around it. So you need to focus. You need to actually be aware, be alert. I tell people on the track all the time when an event's on, I said, you can't just wander around like Brown's cows. You're likely to get smacked into. You just open your eyes and be alert. He did not, clearly. And by the way, even guys running in a 5,000, not like us regular folk, they're moving. They're
Yeah,
not jogging.
yeah.
5,000 to them is not a jog.
No,
For most average people, that they're jogging faster than we can sprint.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So that, it was a disaster, though. You just can't have disasters like that at the Olympics. People spend their whole careers to get to one Olympic Games. It's their one chance. And some peanut head blows it for it.
Yeah, I know. It could have been disastrous. They were lucky that they moved out and around him pretty quickly. And then I think someone must have yelled to him to stand still. Because, the worst thing is, we've had it before, just that training on the track, just stand there. Remember when that woman used to turn up with all the kids and the kids start running across the track? And then the parents, never been to a track in their life, we're sprinting in the home straight, 5 lanes wide, and then one of the parents just wanders out the track talking to someone else. It's like, seriously? But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good Olympic Games. I didn't watch many of the other sports. I hardly watch any of the swimming. I'm just not a massive fan of the swimming. Trying to think else. I did want to see some of the weightlifting. I didn't think the Channel 9 coverage in Australia was very good, to be honest. It was actually annoying, terrible commentators. But I did want to see a bit more of the weightlifting. I quite like the weightlifting, but the track I thought was great. The stadium was amazing. I thought some of the European commentators were pretty good. They sort of know the sport pretty well. But yeah, and overall Australia had a pretty good Olympics.
Yeah. So all that. I mean, logistically it can't be an easy thing to do when you've got so many different events these days, and holding it in major cities where you have all sorts of other logistical events. I mean, people live there. So
Yeah.
like when they had it on the Gold Coast, Commonwealth Games, the advice was to get out of the Gold Coast, to make it easy for us, just leave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think overall I did a pretty good job, and as I said, from 100 through to marathon, I thought the quality was quite amazing. Right across.
Yes.
There were you often saw a lot of, particularly in the semi-finals of all the track events, you just saw national record, season's best. There was all of this against all these athletes that obviously got it right for their event. Whether they made it to finals or medaled, they ran as fast as they could possibly go. Most athletes did that. They reached their full potential, which is all you can ask for and all you want to do. If you become an Olympian and you make it to a track event, then that's amazing.
Yeah. And, as you said, that's a really difficult thing to do in some situations, because sometimes, trying to peak multiple times a year is a really difficult thing, as we know.
Very hard.
And it gets harder as you get older, obviously. But sometimes these qualifying events for a lot of these athletes are quite close to the Olympics as well. So, it's nearly like, as we well know, a lot of people end up running much better times when they're trying to qualify than they do at the actual Olympics, because their peak has just been so early and they haven't been able to get back up to that level again. It's just taken so much out of them. So I think you're right. There were so many good events and great times across the board. And even the Aussies on the track, I thought, ran some pretty good times overall. Probably the young guy, 21-year-old in maybe the 5,000 or the 1,500. I think he ran 8th or 10th, but he had a really good run. To get to where he got.
Still got a lot of work to do. We're really way behind.
Yeah, we are in sprinting. Although I thought, did we go okay in one of the relays?
Our women's relay team has been going okay. I think they made it to like the 12 or something in the world, top 10 maybe. So they have been putting some good relays together, the women, the 4x1, but not enough to be in the final.
What's the... I'm just having a look now. Women's 4x100. Women's 4x1. Yeah, so we didn't obviously make a final. So in heat 1, they ran a 42.75, which would have got them 8th in the final by the looks. 7th in the final was 42.74.
Yeah.
So up there, but yeah, just a little bit off the pace. Yeah.
Girl, just not good enough. And so all of our sprinters 100 through to 400. We've produced some quite good 8 through to 1500 meters in the longer events in men and women.
We are.
The sprinters just haven't really, and we're struggling to put 4x400 relay teams together. We're struggling to do that. I mean, our best 400 meter runner, Ellie Beer, running like a 51I. Something like that. It's just, that doesn't get you anywhere. I think the slowest time in the women's 400 was like 50 point.
Yeah.
The rest, a lot of them were all running in the 49s, the 48s, 49s. That's going to be your final.
Yeah.
So they're just very, very good.
Yeah.
A long way to go to make
I
up.
think track is globally having a bit of a bit of a purple patch at the moment, and hopefully Michael Johnson with his injection into this new track league will actually spark that up as well. He got plenty of publicity when he was over in the Olympics. I was from interviewed multiple times. So good. All right. Well, we might leave it there. That's a bit of an Olympic wrap.
All right.
Yeah. Good to chat, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers,
Cheers.
mate.